Hello YouTube, it is RainingCardGames, and welcome back to yet another video. I feel like that's a kind of a default intro at this point. In either case, continuing on with slowly but surely tinkering around with this new January Banlist, we are actually revisiting a deck that I recently explored in the past. However, with the advent of the Banlist, this deck got a power-up.
You got some power in your corner now. It's heavy ammunition in your camp.
We are going to be exploring the realm of music with scraps.
How about this one? I call it bold and brash.
More like belongs in the trash. Ah!
For you see, we are going to be once again revisiting Scrap Orcust, but this time with the benefit of adding Harp Horror. Slowly but surely, toss format's coming back. Just need that big purple lizard to come back and then we'll have it. Finally. In either case, I really think that now having Harp Horror as a legitimate option in Scrap Orcust, the deck just power ceiling went up a little bit more in terms of what we can put out. So I figured, why don't we go ahead and revisit that list that I made last year, tweak things up a little bit, and you'll also find I have added a little bit more scraps too, because I feel like I wanted a little more scrap in my Scrap Orcust, but I'm also increasing the Orcust count, so all in all, that's a win-win. Anyway, if you could be so kind as to do the usual shebang as in every single YouTube video, it would greatly help the video out as well as the channel. In either case, let's go ahead and see what junk I have crafted and created a beautiful symphony of music. Alright, let's just look at the deck. So, we have made some changes to the Scrap Orcust deck that I was working with since last time. Okay, let's first get the obvious one out of the way. We now indeed do have a singular Orcust Harp Horror. It is finally back, albeit at 1, but honestly, we just need it at 1. Fantastic card. If you are not around for Toss format, this is one of the best Orcust monsters. It is basically banish it from the graveyard, summon an Orcust from deck. It is also a huge target for Ash Blossom, and now for the Bystials, called by the grave. It has a big target on its back, but for good reason, because it has a very powerful effect. And then, of course, it does lock us into darks like Orcust effect does, but we can still play around that by first going through our scrap line. So, triple Scrap Raptor, searchable target because we are running 3 Scrapyard as before and 3 Fossil Dig. Really important way, so that way we can see this card in our opening hand. I can target a monster I control, destroy it, add a... I can normal summon a scrap, and then if it's destroyed, I can add a scrap. So basically, target itself, destroy it, we can add ourselves a scrap recycler. Because of the extra normal summon, we will normal summon the recycler, and then from recycler, we can go ahead and get off to the races, dumping the Christian Rosenex, and so on and so forth. We also have the 1 Scrap Golem. We also do have the Meknike Orcust Girsu, which is another starter in itself by either dumping any of our Orcust Skulls, primarily Orcust Harp Horror, to get our play started with Nightmare, but also it's just a really good card in general, and then also potentially opens up Synchro Lines because of its column ability. We have the 1 Nightmare, the 1 Harp Horror, the 1 Symbol Skeleton, 1 World 1. We have cut down a little bit to make some space and adjust some lines, because you notice there's also another mini card that I've added in with a little bit of its engine in order to adjust. So we've cut down to 1. Normally I'd probably run 2 to play it safe, same with Nightmare, but we're going to see what we can do with making it with 1. Still running the 1 Machina Fortress, just a good way to help fix hands and get a body on field, especially when we're going with our scrap line and we do need something to destroy. We are running 1 Revolution Synchron as well as triple tuning. This will help open up synchro plays. As you can see, we also added Ancient Fairy Dragon in because we've added another field spell into the deck. But also, cool thing about tuning, even though you'd think sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard, it kind of sucks. In our case, that's actually in most cases a good thing. We do want to see cards in our graveyard, so that downside of tuning isn't really a downside. Triple Ash, and then also we have the triple Imperm for our hand traps. We already talked about all of our searchers. There's a lot of search power in this deck. Also potential ways to bait out Ash Blossom if need be. Scrap Factory. We're increasing the scrap count by 1 with the field spell. So this card states, also another cool interaction, I'd say, if we already opened a scrap recycler, Scrap Raptor can add a Scrap Factory as well to our hand. So that's another fun way that we can really get an extra bit of extension, because obviously there's the 200 attack and defense boost for Scrap monsters, but really what we care about is when a Scrap is destroyed on field. So when we're doing our Scrap combo, we can special summon one Scrap monster from our deck. It's just that easy. Extra extension. It's fantastic. So we can get another tuner, we can get another scrap recycler, we can get a big body like Golem to extend further, so it's amazing. In terms of what else we have the Orcust cards in terms of we have our one Babel, our other field spell, which also really pairs well with the Ancient Fairy Dragon. Destroy the Scrap Factory, gain 1,000, then we can search this, and we don't care about our battle phase on turn 1, so that restriction doesn't really hurt us. The World Legacy Succession for our Lib. We have the triple crossout and the call by to help protect and insulate against hand traps. And then the Crescendo. Yep. So fairly rounded out in terms of the extra deck. Linkuriboh, IP, SP, one Scrap Wyvern. We have cut down for one to make a little bit more space for some of our new cards in the extra deck. Double Galatea, the one Lib, the one Longyearsu, the one Appaloosa. I did cut the access code because mostly we have Darks with basically only a handful of exceptions. So realistically, I figure that we can probably still OTK without access code, so we kind of cut it. Double Ding, we have the one Ancient Fairy Dragon, the one Borreload. We have added in Scrap Twin Dragon. I wanted to bump up the Scrap and also have Scraps to be on the end field too as a finisher. So once per turn, target a card I control and up 2 cards my opponent controls. Destroy the one I control and then bounce the 2 cards, so return them to hand. So it's all non-destruction removal, so that's cool, and also can potentially pop off on my side. And then if it's sent to the graveyard by a card, then I can target a non-synchro Scrap in my graveyard and special summon it, so it recurs itself a little bit too as well. And then the one Baronne de Fleur. Extra deck has not changed too much since the last time. Actually, I don't think I've changed anything in it since then. But yeah, all in all, this is a great list, and I think unlike regular videos, I'm actually going to just give you a brief show on how the Scrap combo works to get into the Orcust line, and then we'll go ahead and go into the games. Okay, so this is the basic Scrap Orcust combo. We're going to go ahead and open up with Fossil Dig. You could also easily do this with Scrapyard, just to search your Scrap Raptor. Scrap Raptor's effect is going to proc, give us the extra normal summon, also searching off the Recycler. Keep in mind, if we did open the Recycler, we could also search for the field spell. We're going to dump the Rosenex and go up into Scrap Wyvern. We're also going to set that extra card copy, so that way we can destroy it off of Scrap Wyvern's effect after special summoning the Scrap Golem. Golem's going to revive the Recycler, and then we're going to dump a World Wand. Going up into Lib, Lib's going to set us the World Key. Key is going to activate, and we're going to revive back our Golem. Golem's effect is going to bring back the Recycler once again, soft once per turn, and then we're going to go ahead and dump the Harp Horror. We're going to then activate Tuning now that we've gotten all the bricks out of the deck. Go up into an Appaloosa, and then Synchro with Revolution Synchron into Borreload Savage. We're then going to use Harp Horror to bring out the Gearsu dumping the Orcust Nightmare, pumping up our Appaloosa just for the turn, as well as then we're going to use the World One, bring back our Orcust monster so we can go up into Galatea. Galatea is going to give us access to the field spell. We go up into Dingirsu, activate our field spell, link off back into our second Galatea, and that's going to end it for the turn. So now, on our opponent's turn, we will be able to pop off by using the Gearsu, or the Dingirsu and Graveyard to send. We have the interruption in terms of 2 negates from Appaloosa. We also have the Monster Negate or the Omni Negate from Borreload Savage. We also just happen to, draw on extra cards. You'll have 2 free cards in this case, whatever they may be, whether it's like a Crossout, Call By. You might even draw any further extension to create an even better board. And then, of course, because Galatea is a quick effect, you also could have easily have done this with Orchestrated Crescendo as the card that you searched instead of this, so you would have a counter trap as opposed to a Dingirsu. I prefer going with the field spell unit, but then you have follow up for Orchestrated Crescendo on the next turn. All in all, it's a very good, straightforward linear combo, but depending on your extra cards that you have in hand, you can potentially extend your hand and your deck even further, but that's always dependent on a little bit of the luck of the draw. Alright, so for match number 1, we're going up against Exosister. This will be interesting, especially when we get hit with Dimension Shifter, which basically turns my entire line off. I need the graveyard. So we just pass with just a humble Imperm and a Crossout Designator, but we do have the Ash at least to slow down their plays with Prosperity. They do bring out the Martha. Why do you say that name? Anyway, they bring out the Michaelis. We are going to try to Imperm. It's unfortunate. They go for the other back row, which is the Crossout, so okay, I can live with that. They bring out the Aratama, they get the Sakitama, they bring that out, and then guess what? 2 4s on the field, make an Exca Sister Caspital, and then they can go up into the big Magnifica. And yeah, we get punched for a lot of damage. But finally, we have the graveyard once again. We try to imperm, just, bait out some interaction, but notice they do have an Ash Blossom in hand. But even before I have to worry about the Ash, my single normal summon is dead on arrival. It's okay, we can always try again. So, we open up with a Scrapyard uninterrupted this time. So we go ahead and normal summon our Scrap Raptor. Scrap Raptor is going to destroy itself and grab ourselves a lovely copy of Recycler. We go ahead and set that useless Fossil Dig now, which we can pop with Scrap Wyvern by sending the Rosenex. We can get a token, go up into the Wyvern itself. Wyvern effect, we're going to revive our Recycler, and then we're going to special summon out a Golem from the deck, destroying that Fossil Dig. Golem then can go ahead and revive. I accidentally revive the Raptor instead of the Recycler, so a slight misplay on my part, but I can still at least recover a little bit, luckily because I still had the World Legacy Succession, so it's not the end of the world. In either case, we go ahead and boost up our Appaloosa a little bit with the Orcust Nightmare. We go ahead and then run our regular Orcust line, getting out our Orchestrated Babel out onto the field, go into the Dingirsu, link off into a Galatea, set another Infinite Impermanence, and pass back. So, we start off our opponent's turn with a Pot of Prosperity, and they go ahead and they banish 6, revealing 6. I'm going to go ahead and, well, I don't really have a choice. I can't really negate that Pot of Prosperity. They hit me with a Dark Ruler no more. Battle phase, then they hit me with the Evenly Match. So I decide, okay, let's at least keep the Babylon field so I'll have 1 point of interaction, but then again I remember, this is Orcust that I'm playing, which means Exosister will easily be able to banish anything that I try to do in the graveyard. Yikes. So now I just have a single Orchestrated Babel on the field to face down their board, where they also go ahead and deal with my field spell. And now all I have is a World Wand in hand. Scrapyard might get me somewhere, which is not, it's actually not terrible because the scraps do have some utility going second, but it doesn't matter if my normal summon will simply just get banished. But it's okay, we can always just reset and go again. We're going up for match number 2 against Labyrinth. Yikes, I hate this deck, but I do draw pleasure from beating it. So we're going to open up with a very awkward hand. We go ahead and get Ashed on our Orcust Nightmare, so we're locked out of any Orcust lines. They try to welcome Labyrinth, we just hit them with the Ash. We're not letting any big ladies hit the field at all. We punch for 18, set our 2 Imperns, including 1 in that column to hopefully negate any interaction, and we pass back to our opponent. They pass back to us. So this actually works in our favor. We just go ahead and normal summon the Revolution Synchron, punch for some damage, go into SP Little Knight, pass it back. This is going to be a very slow, grindy game. They pass it back towards us, which is actually perfect in our favor. We go ahead and activate the Scrapyard. Now we have lines. We activate our Scrap Factory as well. So after we pop our Raptor, we can then use the Scrap Factory to also bring out a Scrap Golem, which means we can get extra damage on field early. They go for the IDP, but ultimately that is no point. They end up scooping because I can easily push through it and push through for lethal. And for game number 2, they are now going first and pushing off, starting to set their board, but also notice I got 2 finishers, and for some reason they just decide to quit out on me. I don't know why, but realistically, what were they going to do? I would just Lightning Storm them, and then if need be, I would evenly match and then proceed with a full Scrap Orcust combo on the crackback, as well as having a little bit of extra stuff with the tuning. I pretty much would think, yeah, this match is in the bag, and happily will take a win against Labyrinth any day. And for the last match of today, we are going to be going up against Lightsworn Bestial, but yeah, this is going to be interesting, showing off some of the new support with the Lightsworn, but in any case, we are going first, and we are going uninterrupted with our scrap line. We go ahead and bring out our Recycler, use the Rosenex to get a token so we can go up into the Wyvern. Wyvern is going to pop the Recycler so we can special summon the Golem, and then we will pop the extra Scrapyard that we have in our back row. And then we're going to make sure to revive the Scrap Recycler this time, not the Raptor. We can link up into Lib, and then get our World Legacy Succession, bringing back an extra until we get hit with the Magnamut. It's rough. We can at least end on a 2 material Appaloosa with a set Infinite Impermanence and 2 columns. Hopefully this will be enough. We go ahead and try to negate the Bestial Lubellion. They hit the Raiden. We hit them with the Infinite Imperm. And hope that that will stop their turn. They just go ahead and beat over our Appaloosa, which is perfectly fine by me. They go for the Druis Worm in the end, and then they go into the Bestial Dispatter. We hit them with the Imperm to try to stop them from doing anything extra. They just go into Lubellion. Lubellion then will go ahead and set Branded Regained and pass it back to us. We draw another Ash Blossom. We have 2 Ashes in hand. We at least can use one of them against Solar Recharge, which is great, but we just go ahead and get hit for 25. This top deck is going to need to be extremely important as they summon a successful Raiden and mill quite a few. Bring out the Minerva. Minerva is going to go ahead and mill 3 and then pass it back to us. We end up drawing an Orchestrated Babel. It's okay though, we reset and go for game 2. We open up with the Tuning to see if they have any interaction with us. Nothing, so we just grab our safe Revolution Synchron. This time we go ahead and go for the Scrap line. Now we can go ahead and normal summon our Scrap Recycler, sending the Rosenex. That combo we've seen 1,000 times. Good old Reliable hits the field. Scrap Wyvern is going to revive our Recycler. Pop the Recycler. Wyvern's then going to bring out the Golem from the deck. We're going to pop that Fossil Dig. Golem's going to revive the Recycler this time, and we have a perfect target to send in World 1 with no Bestials in my opponent's hand, so this will actually work this time around. We're going to revive our Scrap Golem. Then we're going to link up into Appaloosa. Golem's going to revive the Scrap Recycler. Recycler is going to go ahead and send an Orcust Harp Horror, and then we're going to use the Revolution Synchron to go and sync up into Borreload with the equipped Lib, so it's a 4K beat stick with 2 negates. And we can now finally start our Orcust line now that everything is set up and insulated with 3 negates on field already. Galatea is going to go ahead and shuffle back to World 1. Going to set a Crescendo since we already have the Babel in hand, so this is going to be a very formidable board of 2 Monster Negates in Appaloosa, Omni Negate in Borreload. We have the Counter Trap with Crescendo as an Omni Negate. We have the Orcust line with Symbol Skeleton, which we can then send with the Dingirsu. This is basically quote-unquote my full board. There could be a few extra things, but honestly we are easily able to deal with all that my opponent attempts to do. So it all comes down to the final game, and we have drawn an evenly matched. We go ahead and Ash their Solar Recharge, which is great. They, however, go and bring out the Magnamut with their own card, since Ash luckily is not a light or dark. They go into Lubellion. Lubellion's going to get the Branded Regained. They're going to go ahead and start going for the Saronir line, and then they're going to cycle out into an SP Little Knight. A little bit of tricky interaction, but nothing that we can't handle. We just have to play our cards correctly. Lightning Storm's a great start, dealing with their one form of interaction. We can then normal summon our Girsu, and this is where they're going to go ahead and bring out their own Druis Ward onto the field. They're going to hit my Nightmare, which is rough. We can still make something potentially happen. They shuffle back my Nightmare. We go ahead and link up into Galatea. We're going to then try the World Legacy section. This is a slight misplay on my end. I shouldn't have targeted a Dark. I should have gone for the Ash Blossom for a different line. So slight misplay, and that might have thrown the game on my end. But in either case, we weren't really getting any Orcust lines accessible with all the Bestials in hand to interact with me. They deal with my Dingirsu, which is not the best, so now all that I have on my field is a set evenly match. I just have to hope that they don't have enough damage on field to produce a lethal push, but unfortunately it looks like they are able to do so and back it up with an Omni Negate from the Baron de Fleur, so we unfortunately take the L. And that's gonna do it for today's video. I guess all in all, total recap-wise about where I think the deck is with Harp Horror. It's interesting. It does add some new lines. However, the lines don't necessarily fully went the way I expected. So, for example, in terms of having Harp Horror, basically it makes the Girsu a much more viable normal summon. However, really that just kind of nullifies the Scrap part. The entire idea of the Scrap engine is basically a way to get us to our Orcust cards through Scrap Recycler. That being said, though, however, having an additional target just to dump into the graveyard with Harp Horror and further extension, I feel like that's where it really can help out, obviously. But it also is nice to, if I'm able to dump it off of Recycler, banish the Harp Horror, special summon a Girsu. Girsu can continue to extend as well as getting me a body on field. There are some definite added bonuses, and obviously I can pop the token with Scrap Wyvern. So there's a lot of intricacies that I can see, and I can also kind of see, like, if I'm going first, let's rely more on the Orcust line purely. If I'm going second, we can really utilize that scrap utility, especially with Scrap Wyvern, to just hopefully disrupt my opponent's board and then push in for finally an Orcust play. All in all, I like the deck. Obviously, it's still prone to interaction at certain choke points, hence why we are running... Wow, I did hiccup there. I just did hiccup in the video. The choke points, like starting off with the scrap combo, if that gets choked out and I don't have a Called by the Grave or a cross-out designator, I do run the chance of being potentially dead on arrival. It is what it is, and that's kind of it. And then also, you know, you always have to run the risk of being afraid of a Bestial hitting any of your Orcusts in the graveyard. So that's something you just have to play with. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's never one-sided unless you're in a Tier 0 format, which fortunately we're not. In either case, thank you all so much for tuning in today. Keep an eye on the channel. Hopefully we'll be pumping out more videos. We might revisit Scrap Orcust once again. Who knows? Come on, bring back the big purple lizard. I can then revise and rebrand my branded Thunder Dragon. In either case, I will catch you all in the next video.